Hello there everybody, Sabanai2 aka Nightmare, and welcome back to Rose Guns Day's last season. So, last week we've officially gotten started on this, and... Oh, Gabriel, the fallen angel, and his tantalizingly tempting embrace. Unfortunately, it seems like Richard himself has fallen for the fallen angel's embrace. In other words, we are in some serious shit right now. So we officially got started. We witnessed Stella's funeral, and grief-stricken Gabriel took full advantage of their emotions. While it looks like Meiju himself is trying to piece together a lot of what's really happening, I'm already afraid that Gabriel has like total control over the Primavera people right now, and that's... God damn it, I'm worried. But anyway, let's move forward and see what the hell's going on now. Then, the man claiming to be a former elder of Bashing Bang slowly began speaking of internal matters. Their claim was a simple one. The alliance formed by the GDS and Bashing Bang had resolved to destroy Primavera, which had become too powerful to ignore. They had worked out a plan by which they could weaken Primavera, stir up internal conflicts, split it apart, and wipe it out in a single swift stroke. Lee Meiju had proposed the strategy. This man who knew Primavera thoroughly had drawn up the plans for Primavera's destruction. The Chinese men took a sealed letter out of a bag. The plans were written in Chinese with a fountain pen, and Lee Meiju's signature could be seen at the bottom. Fuck. God damn it!
These are the written plans Lee Meiju made outlining the strategy to destroy Primavera.
Meiju-san wrote up plans to destroy us.
After all, Lee Meiju was the one who was ordered to invade City 23 by Sun Qilong's father, former leader of the GDS.
Your accent is horrendously offensive.
Guess so. I vaguely knew about it already.
His job was to protect his countrymen in Small Rock, Chinatown. Meiju had explained this himself. He had aided Primavera several times before the Primavera family was established. So it sometimes felt like Meiju was Primavera's ally. He is. However, they had faintly realized that his true mission was one that conflicted with the very essence of Primavera. Existence, I'm sorry. Before the Caleb family era, City 23 had been the domain of warlords, with Alfred in the north, you're goddamn right, Caleb in the south, and several other powerful families lurking about. If foreigners like the GDS tried to make a showy invasion of City 23, Japanese mafias would resist, and there was a danger they might unite into a large force. For that reason, Meiju had chosen to encroach rather than invade. Using merchants, he steadily encroached into City 23, using the world of the day. He brought up property after property, gave support to those among his countrymen starting up shops, and gradually increased the size of Chinatown. Once a property became part of Chinatown, it was never sold to anyone other than one of their countrymen, even if it meant the lot went unused. In other words, once it joined Chinatown, I know how to English, it would never again pass into the hands of someone who wasn't Chinese. And so, he gradually and quietly encroached into City 23 without firing a shot. However, once Primavera showed its strength in the soy sauce war, their perception of it changed drastically. The GDS would switch from its quiet strategy of encroachment to an active strategy.
Ever since Madame Rose became the leader of City 23 in Caleb's place, Lee Meiju has been investigating it under Sun Qilong's orders. Find out in case of emergency how Primavera could be defeated. Is that it?
They're always like that. They pretend they're going to shake your hand, but they're holding a knife behind their back.
It's nothing to be surprised about.
Always prepare for the worst case scenario and plan. That's your motto, or so I hear.
If I'd been in their position, I would probably have done the same thing. It's nothing to be surprised about.
So, if the GDS has been researching our weaknesses, What did they think they found?
Though it's stupid to ask when we already know the results.
True. So this day is the result of what they learned by researching our weaknesses.
Though Primavera is a young power, it was clear that Madame Rose was its sole emotional support. However, if she were to be assassinated, there was the danger that Primavera would deify her and grow more united. For that reason, the plan to assassinate her was always put on hold.
However, in actual fact, that plan had been carried out. In other words, something had happened in Primavera to make them sure it wouldn't reunite, even if it lost Madame Rose. Richard was the first one to think of what that might be. He suddenly hung his head, dabbing at his eyes and shaking. Richard-san.
It's Stella.
What does Stella have to do with all this? Richard could envision how Stella's existence had become the trigger for this incident. However, he couldn't explain it in words. He could do nothing but moan. I don't get it. Why? What does Stella have to do with this? If they wanted to kill her, why couldn't they shoot Madame Rose alone? Why? Why did Stella have to get shot too?
In the Distribution Association matter, Stella worked as Madame Rose's representative. To us, this just meant that everyone was trying to support Madame Rose in that busy time. But
It seems those in other organizations thought differently.
According to rumor, hardliner bosses had criticized Madame Rose for giving up too much of the D2 to GDS in the soy sauce war. That was the atmosphere when the rumor about Rose fainting from fatigue popped out. On top of that, the vital post of Primavera's representative in Distribution Association negotiations had been left to Stella. In the top ranks of Primavera, this was thought of as a beautiful story. They regretted relying on Rose alone all the time, and everyone swore to support her as best they could together. Stella quit as a lady of the evening and started helping with Rose's work in full, and this became a chance for Primavera to grow even more united. However, powers outside of Primavera had taken this a different way. Madame Rose's attractive force had decreased towards the bosses, who were unsatisfied with her naive decisions during the soy sauce war. Primavera's top ranks, worried that Primavera might split apart at the seams, had planned for a quiet regime change. Though her attractive force had decreased within the organization, her outward charisma remained unchanged. At that point, Primavera made up a story about Rose fainting from fatigue and set up Stella Maogi in her place. It was an attempt to let her build up real-world achievements in preparation for the time when she would inherit the position of Madam. In other words, they took this to be a quiet coup d'etat in which Richard Maogi seized actual power. How's that supposed to be? That's insane!
now that you mention it, it did sort of look like the Maogi siblings stole real power away from Rose.
But even so, the Primavera execs probably wouldn't all accept the Maogis at once. In other words, if a problem came up, Primavera would split into a Madame Rose faction and a Maogi faction.
I am responsible for this.
How does that work? Why would it be your fault, Richard-san?
It's because of my lack of virtue. That is why my sister's efforts were mistakenly thought of as a power grab by me.
You're overthinking it. Stella helped Rose when she was swamped with work. They just misunderstood and assumed that meant she was Primavera's number 2. That's all there is to it.
Then, why did I let her help? I knew so very well how dangerous this world is. So why did I let my sister get involved? Why? We told them what was going on! Meiju-san himself heard about Rose and Stella and accepted it, didn't he? Are you saying he was thinking something completely different on the inside? Why? Why? I don't understand! Ugh!
Rose and Stella gone, Richard would have to control Primavera alone. When that happened, Rose's devotees would split into groups depending on whether they acknowledged Richard as her successor or not. In order to protect Rose's charisma, Richard had taken the lead in handling all dirty matters dealing with money. He'd also used his position as a moneylender to avoid being taken lightly, playing the part of a high-pressure typical money grubber when working outside the family. It was a fact that this behavior of his had turned against them, inviting misconceptions. He was just a parasite after money, no interest in Rose's ideals. Surely, Richard would trick Rose someday and take over the organization. It was true that many people had that misconception. It wasn't like that. Richard respected Rose from the bottom of his heart. It was a mutual, it still is, because Rose has still got to be alive, goddammit. She's just clinging to life. Their relationship is purely mutual, beneficial, and very much familial. And Rose had been deeply grateful to have Richard there, taking on dirty jobs in her place. However, that was something only the pair of them knew. The world at large, no, even most of the bosses, didn't believe that Richard truly respected Rose. Because there's the professional side that you're showing on the outside, and then there's the private self, you know? They've only ever seen professional Richard. They've never seen Richard for who he is. After that, the Chinese men showed one letter or memo after another detailing the conversations between Zhilong and Ma, leader of Ba Xingbang. Though they could all be considered circumstantial evidence, none of them rose to the level of absolute proof. However, Richard and Keith were already certain that the GDS was behind this. They're being overcome with grief. Even Cyrus, the calmest of the lot, was 99% sure in his heart that the GDS was responsible, though he declined to make that conclusion. Their emotions are being completely controlled by Gabriel, which makes Gabriel such a damn despicably good villain! All the documents suggesting GDS involvement were forgeries. The former elder kicked out of Ba Xingbang was bribed by Gabriel and easily promised to lend his help. As a man with a grudge against Ma, their current leader, who also hated Sun Shilong of the GDS, Ma's ally. Even if the enemy of my enemy isn't my friend, the friend of my enemy is my enemy. My head hurts. He was a former elder of Ba Xingbang, so he had detailed knowledge of internal matters. Even another Chinese member of Ba Xingbang would probably have been fooled by his forgeries. So to Richard, who was Japanese and also wanted to avenge his sister, then Gabriel spoke of the mercilessness and cruelty of the Chinese mafia that had killed his sister. He also pointed out the miraculous coincidence that not only were they both men who had lost sisters, but men who had lost sisters to the Chinese mafia. By now, Richard was completely won over by the impression that Gabriel was the same as him. Butler was now beyond the point of sighing or breaking out laughing. He was starting to recognize this emotion as terror. With this, it's clear who killed Stella. Li Meiju, Sun Shilong. There's no way I let all the burdens Stella bore go to waste. Oh, it's okay. I'm not blinded anymore. Oof, the irony! As long as I get to pull the trigger, I'll sit tight until the time comes.
Got it. I'll make sure we leave the trigger to you. But make sure you don't go running off while we're still getting everything arranged. Got it?
And you're absolutely sure that you'll get everything arranged? If you strike up some weird bargain, or say you'll let bygones be bygones, that's when I'll leave Primavera and do as I please.
Don't be so full of yourself! Don't underestimate us, boy! Richard, you're good, right? If even you get emotional, we're done for. I mean, to be fair, you kind of were extremely emotional, but, you know, I don't know.
I am calm. During the Soy Sauce War, Rose taught us how to follow the rules of the criminal underworld and protect our countrymen. I intend to do nothing more.
You mean all that about spring vegetables making themselves bitter?
They took a bite of a fruit that must not be touched. We cannot protect the lifestyles of our countrymen unless we force them to pay a fitting price.
His tone was calm, but Richard was already completely determined to have his revenge against the GDS. Cyrus was also 99% sure the GDS did it, but he figured they'd be done for if they had lost their cool now. However, they were all sitting on the palm of Gabriel's hand now. I wonder what he's doing whenever he's just like, he's probably secretly laughing at his, okay, he's probably feeling two things right now as he's watching all this go down. Either A, he's laughing his ass off internally, or B, he is just like, oh, get these filthy mafia people out to my room. Kind of like that. Gabriel had predicted all of these developments. So in response to a look from Gabriel, Butler said a line he had been prepped with earlier.
Well, to be fair, even I think it's a bit early to go accepting this blindly. After all, we know how these things go. It could be this former elder just made it all up to get back at the people who chased him out.
Why would he be prepped to say that? Is that added as a bit of a contingency to make sure that if the idea suddenly pops up, they'll just... Oh! So even if they are told the truth about what really happened, they've already set this up in place to where they'll just pretend, they'll just say that...
We knew you were going to suggest a lie like that. True. Given the state of things, 99% is not enough.
That's right. I'd like proof that the letters of those geezers bought are real.
And when you decide they are, you'll definitely issue a proclamation of war, right, Grand Boss?
Of course. If these are real, there's no need to show them any mercy.
So, how will you prove the authenticity of these letters?
Well, as to that,
Even the Chinese men were at a loss as to how the documents could be proven. But that wasn't a problem. If the ones presenting the letters offered proof, it would still look suspicious to a degree. But if someone who is supposedly a third party offered proof...
In that case, we'll investigate it on our end.
ooh, what a brilliant plan. Perhaps we could have the famed information department of our military investigate these letters.
Oh, so we're getting the great and mighty U.S. Military Information Department to research it for us? Now, ain't that nice? After all, rumor has it that they even broke the code and knew about Pearl Harbor before it happened.
How are you gonna prove it's real?
We have several documents at HQ that were written by Lee Meiju directly. We could perform a handwriting analysis using those. Of course, we already have Lee Meiju's fingerprints. We'll check against those, too. I've made preparations so that we can hand those over to the information department whenever we want.
That's feel for you. Always so clever.
Thank you very much.
Richard, and you, Keith. I don't want you to get the wrong idea, but I've also been fully convinced the GDS was responsible. However, if war's gonna break out, we need a plan. And unless we prove it to oh, God damn it. See, I'm getting tongue-tied, God damn it. And unless we prove to third parties that we've got a right to take our revenge, it's gonna get messy later.
Third parties? Who cares about them? All that matters is me, my gun, the trigger, and Sun Shilong and Meiju's skulls. What else could matter?
Major Kaburaya. Captain Butler. I ask that you conduct a careful, precise investigation into whether this evidence is legitimate or not.
Of course. This is an investigation and also a trial. A trial to see whether or not the heavens will allow for the hammer of justice to be swung down.
I'm truly grateful for your assistance. I imagine a proper revenge will be carried out by our hands eventually. However, I want to promise you that it will be done in a manner that does not tarnish the reputation of City 23's occupying forces.
Thank you for showing concern for my position. But I believe I told you. This revenge isn't yours alone. It's for both of us who lost sisters. In fact, I'm the one who wants to show concern for you.
Then Gabriel hugged Richard gently and whispered in his ear.
When the time comes, contact me. I promise that no MPs or police officers will get in the way of your revenge, my friend.
Okay. With a line like that, I'm already just... I swear, if they're... Oh, God. God damn it, this... snake... Okay, I'm calming down. This snake. Oh my god. I think Samael would be a perfect name for the poison that you are, Gabriel. But I can already see this happening. As soon as Richard contacts him, he will literally bring out the entire force of the American army, or just whatever people he feels necessary to completely slaughter everyone. I can already see that happening. In the car, Richard kept perfectly silent. His relationship with Meiju was long, going back to his days as a moneylender. He had known him personally for a long time, not just on business terms. During the feud with Caleb, and then again during the soy sauce war against Wan Hyung Huang. Each time, Meiju had saved them. Though he had thought himself to be fully aware that true friendship couldn't exist between races, somewhere in his heart he still wanted to believe that Meiju alone was different. The shock of being betrayed by Meiju seemed to be hitting Richard hard. Keith also remained silent, but in contrast to Richard's empty eyes, his eyes were sparkling. It was only natural. He now knew who had killed Stella and Alan. There had been no contact from Alan since that day. Oh no. From what Keith had heard, he'd been on a date with that Yuki-chan girl. When Stella was shot and Yuji was carried to the hospital, Keith had assumed that all this activity had gotten in the way of Alan contacting him. When he learned that Alan never returned home after that day, he realized that Stella wasn't the only one he had to avenge. Fuck! One of the attacks had occurred in a popular shopping district near Chinatown. Most likely, Alan had gotten dragged into the gunfight targeting Lee Meishu while enjoying his date, losing his life in the process. He went to several hospitals asking around for Alan. However, none of the hospitals were accommodating Alan Aramaki. This was the era they lived in. There are apparently many corpses that still haven't been identified. According to some sources, the occupying forces, in an attempt to tuck away the crimes, had already cremated the bodies, plunging the cases into darkness. Probably be impossible to find even Alan's corpse. Alan. And you too. Actually, what's the name of this song? Because this just... I think I've been told, but it just hurts. Oh man, what I'm really worried about though right now is I really hope Alan wakes up. He may be able to knock some sense into Keith. People living in peacetime might find Keith heartless for believing a friend was dead without seeing a corpse, especially when that friend was close enough to be family. However, on the battlefield and in the prison camp, he had lost many friends without even getting a chance to tend to their wounds. Because he was brutally familiar with the suddenness of human death, he accepted even his close friend's death simply and bluntly. Even if he quickly accepted that his close friend was dead, that didn't change the strength of their friendship, nor the sadness of his loss. Keith was just dried up from tears he had already shed, caused by the hole in his chest and the shock at losing Stella. Stella and Alan. The sadness of losing these two precious people silently simmered and turned into... And again, I blame him.
The Major must have been harboring a grudge against the Chinese mafia for taking the life of his sister.
Looks like it. So, when he learned the GDS is behind this, that must have opened up an old wound.
Most likely. His attempts to aid my revenge are part of a desire to lift his own burden from his shoulders.
When humans hate long enough, it makes them crazy. It's the same as lust. If you don't make certain compromises and rub it out, bad things happen.
In that case, this is an opportunity. This incident, which has the Major remembering his sister's death into becoming emotional, is a unique opportunity.
After all, we can't even start a feud without the permission of the occupying forces.
In that case, we'll have to live up to the Major's expectations. I'll use my bullets to free everyone. Stella and Alan, Richard's son, and the Major. And myself as well. Of course. I'm pretty frail after all. Can't keep my fist raised while carrying that anger forever. But I will at least hold myself back with reason so that it doesn't cause trouble for Primavera.
Keith, make sure your gun is always ready to use.
Of course.
The situation's bad. Even if the revenge is just, we can't avoid the feud that's gonna follow.
If we get in a feud with the GDS, Ba Xing Bang will naturally join in.
That happens, we'll look for backup from the Satomi Alliance. Unless they're fools, they'll gather even more of the allies. So, we need to gather allies too.
So, it'll become a struggle even bigger than the soy sauce war, dragging in families across Tokyo.
I know what you're trying to say, Cyrus. Unless we can use evidence to prove that our revenge is just, we'll get stuck in a massive feud.
Yep, that's it. Even in the past, when samurai took revenge on someone who killed one of their relatives, they needed to notify the government.
Really? Oh, is that true? Grand Boss, you know everything.
Don't mock me, boy.
The underworld spanning nationalities had no moral code besides money. However, to men who prized honor in the underworld, the idea of taking revenge for lost family members must surely strike a chord. If they could use evidence to verify that their revenge was justified beforehand, they could minimize the scale of the feud.
Until the investigation of those letters is complete, you're better off polishing your gun and waiting. In exchange, I'll offer to find you a high place where you can aim right for the top of Sun Shilong and Mei Zhu's heads.
That's our Grand Boss. I think I love you.
But, in exchange for that...
I know. I'll obey your orders. I won't do anything on my own.
Li Meiju, Sun Shilong. If you think Primavera is impotent, you are gravely mistaken. And Major Gabriel Kaburaya. I'm grateful to you and the good fortune that brought us together.
Oh, God, Richard, no. Oh.
It was okay for me to say whatever I want, right? As long as it wasn't in Japanese and didn't profane angels.
Yes, very well, Phil. I'll give you permission to say anything that fulfills those two requirements. But right now, I'm in a truly wonderful mood. Yes, how could I describe it? I'd like some superb wine, superb music, and superb caviar. And I'm sure you'll give it to me, Phil. Please, Phil, use that small tongue of yours to give me a chirping that'll match my mood.
He answered with a dramatic gesture, like an orchestra conductor responding to a call from an encore. Butler spat out the feelings that still smoldered faintly in his heart, those feelings that weren't all like him. If a man like himself, who had willingly stained his hands in corruption, said these words, surely angels would burst out laughing and demons would sneer. However, there were no angels or demons here, so he had to speak up himself.
I can't believe you managed to call Richard your friend so easily. You're the killer, but you really did a wonderful job pretending to sympathize, didn't you?
I wasn't pretending. I sympathized with him from the heart, didn't I?
And Stella and Rose, just a few days ago, they greeted you with smiles on their faces, didn't they?
They did. It was quite seductive when Miss Stella desperately tried to show off her cleavage in a sexual manner.
You exchanged words and chatted together! They even showed respect for you! Of course, even I've arranged for scum to part ways with life on multiple occasions. But I could only do that without worrying over it because they were scum! If I'd spoken with them, if they'd shown goodwill towards me, if they'd been women, then no matter how villainous they may be, I'd at least hesitate and be unsure, right? Anyone would, as long as they were human with red blood flowing through them. But you, insensitively...
Phil, you like farces a lot, for someone so strict about other people's farces. Well, even I am human. I want you to acknowledge that even I had some trouble remaining calm in front of Richard. After all, it was all I could do not to burst out laughing.
You're right. It was a mistake of me to insult you by profaning angels. You're no angel! You're a demon!
Very nice. A provocative statement that tickles the ears. Just now, I was feeling less like having the sweet salmon of Praise's strategies, and more like the stimulating effect of caviar. Nope, you pass, Phil. For this time alone, I give you permission to rant on as long as you like, criticizing my character.
Oh well. Thanks a lot for that, sir. But it looks like there's no point saying anything more to you, Major. Like that Japanese proverb, it's like water on a frog's face.
As long as you assist in my little revenge drama, you're free to chirp however you like when it doesn't get in the way. Without that sort of outlet, you end up losing yourself. And I already know that you're no fun anymore when your eyes lose that rebellious glint.
I hope you don't expect to die a decent death.
I know this is silly, but you don't really expect to die a decent death yourself, do you?
Of course not! I'll get what I deserve. Still, isn't refusing to get unrelated people involved the bare minimum rule for us villains?
If that were true, the world wouldn't be so hopeless. However, Liz did become involved. As long as the demons known as Mafia exist in this world, sinless people will continue to get involved. Even those who bear no sins are facing that risk. In that case, shouldn't you villains, with your hands steeped in evil, bear even more of that risk than the average person?
Just try and lay a hand on my sister. I'll turn it all around and tear out your guts.
This motherfucker is threatening Butler's own sister.
You misunderstand. Whether or not your sister lives a life blessed fortune is not for me to decide. That's a decision for you. A man who cares for his sister as much as I do. Isn't that right, Bill?
Butler had a little sister in his home country. Unlike him, a man with both hands dirtied by personal greed, his sister was a person to be proud of, a girl who had lived a blameless life. Ever since they had gotten into a big fight long ago in adolescence, they had been estranged. He'd probably long forgotten her minor villain of a brother. However, Butler never once forgot his honest, straightforward sister. Butler's information web and underworld contacts had been essential for Gabriel's revenge drama. So, since Gabriel needed Butler to swear to support him no matter what, he had searched for Butler's weaknesses. That mother... Since the man he needed as a pawn also had a little sister, Gabriel might have taken it as a sign that the time for his revenge had truly come. At the moment, Butler's sister was engaged to someone she met in college. The family of this man was strict and famous locally, though not as famous as Gabriel's family on his mother's side. The man's father was an important member of the city council, and it was rumored that he was beginning preparations to run for mayor. At a time like that, what if it went public that Butler, the brother of his son's fiancée, was suspected of involvement in a corruption case that would shake the foundations of the GHQ? The overwhelming evil and blackmail, my god! But then again, thinking about it, Butler brought himself into this situation. So, yeah, it was only a matter of time before somebody came along, somebody as demented as Gabriel would come along and just be like,
What's this? Is this a bit of blackmail? Yoink!
the engagement would be called off. Of course, their relationship would end too. Butler's wish would be crushed. His wish that his sister would live in purity and happiness, no matter how stained with evil his hands became.
Thanks to your assistance, the tale I weave will proceed as planned. And of course, your sister's engagement will proceed as well. Of course, when the wedding comes, I intend to send a congratulatory telegram as your superior officer. Oh my, it seems I've been teasing you too much. Then let us return to being gentlemen. You damned!
Butler swallowed his words. By now, no one could stop the tyrant with the name of an angel. He's got power, he's got influence, he's got blackmail. Good God! Okay, we got 4 places we can check out here. We can head to Club Primavera. We mustn't let Madame Rose get attacked again. We can't lose her. She must wake up again. The ultimate institution in post-war Japan. All post-war Japanese politics are determined here. And it's also the front line of the new war. The Cold War waged by America and China. There was no trace of those cheery young GDS members on the main street. They'd been given strict orders not to provoke Primavera in any way. Old Sumida City, this whole area, once a shopping district with a distinct Tokyo atmosphere, now showed few if any remnants of Japan at all, much less Tokyo. Start at the top, go with the GHQ first. Oh boy. Operation Great Justice, personally arranged by Gabriel, had the GHQ high officials quivering. None of them had imagined that such an exemplary elite officer could have carried out a plan that left so many city folk as victims. If there had only been a few civilian victims, they would probably have shuffled Gabriel off somewhere in a hurry. However, Gabriel understood their temperaments even better than Butler did. Given the scale of the situation, they had no choice but to conceal it. And then he finally revealed his true colors to them, smiling with the mask of an angel.
I can't believe it. I don't have a clue what you're talking about.
No, sir. Please don't misunderstand. This is without a doubt me threatening you. If you have any desire to enjoy an honorable retirement, would you please agree to overlook the actions of my humble self for a while?
Wait a second, Major! There must be some sort of mistake!
A mistake? Now what could that possibly be?
Many of the old men who'd believed him to be an angel couldn't even comprehend Gabriel's sudden change. Even after it was made clear that this was a threat, some of them still couldn't believe it. However, even they understood eventually. In order to take revenge for the deaths of his family, Gabriel had lit the flames of hatred among the residents of the criminal underworld. They saw that his angelic mask and all of his career up until now had existed for the sole purpose of this revenge. When they recognized that, they finally understood Gabriel's madness. That man really intended to have revenge against the criminal underworld at the cost of his own destruction. If they dealt with him carelessly, they might easily be destroyed themselves.
And there you have it. There may be several considerable disturbances in City 23's near future. However, I will take responsibility and quell them all. Fear not.
That's not the issue, Kaburaya-kun.
Won't you please just leave everything to me? That is, if you ever want to brag about your work to your beloved grandson, Thomas Kun, once you retire and return home. You have nothing to gain by making a fuss.
Kaburaya-kun.
Fucking hell! He's blackmailing everyone! None of them had anything to gain by making the disturbances bigger. If they got in the way of what he was about to attempt, everyone would be destroyed equally. That was the warning Gabriel had given them. The many pieces of evidence collected by Butler and pointing to scandals among high officials were already in Gabriel's hands. High officials, now aware of his true nature, hurriedly discussed how they were going to deal with this. The elections of universal suffrage planned to start next year would be a true showdown of American and Chinese control in Japan. If that was preceded by leaks of dozens of scandals among high officials, it would become a problem so large it might damage U.S. military influence in Asia. The staff officers discussed this at length. But in the end, all that time was wasted on them reaching the simplest possible conclusion. That conclusion was that obeying Gabriel and settling this matter peacefully was their best course of action. In this era, when great countries of differing ideologies faced off in Japan, secret intelligence agencies were dominant under the surface, working out of sight. One of their main duties was to smooth the process of political maneuvering in Japan by gathering Japanese spies. Gabriel himself, though he was on the surface a public order officer tasked with countering organized crime, had been given such a secret mission. The plan was for him to win over or threaten Japanese mafias, and then make use of them as spies for America. For that reason, he had been given great authority, as an officer working for a secret institution. Gabriel must have gained this position so that he could use it to aid in his revenge. Even in the historical facts we know, there were secret American intelligence agencies operating in post-war Japan. 1951. In what is known as the Kaji incident, the Japanese writer Kaji Wataru was kidnapped, forced to work as a spy for a year, and tortured. The ones responsible for this incident, the Z Agency and the Cannon Agency, are rumored to have been behind the three major national rail incidents in the Showa period. Take the Kiwasakatai, a beautiful Western-style house in Tokyo's Taito City, which is open to the general public. It's unlikely that many people today know the historical fact that it was once the headquarters for the Cannon Agency. It is that Cannon. The activities of secret intelligence organizations are always buried by history. The men of this era would probably make the same choice.
Understood. We'll do that, Chief of Staff. Gentlemen, from here on out, this case will be handled by Department 2. None of you are to interact with Major Kaburaya in any way. You are not permitted to aggravate him. This is not a personal problem of Major Kaburaya's, but an issue that could shatter our nation's political strategies at the highest levels.
Gabriel was far more cunning even than Butler. He had already taken steps to have several scandals become public if he were to die in an unfortunate accident.
Good God, man!
If that happened, then the Chinese, who controlled half of this country, would probably make a huge deal out of it and investigate. There would be no way to cover it up. By now, Gabriel was like an unexploded bomb with a fuse, and his authority was more than strong enough to blow up the GHQ, leveling it down to its foundations. The only way to deal with this unexploded bomb buried beneath the GHQ was to cautiously and slowly remove the fuse in the face of death. And while they were being cautious, Gabriel would probably have all the time he needed for his revenge. Good God, man. He is such a sick and twisted bastard, my God. But he's so fucking smart, too. Thanks to the operation, Madame Rose managed to cling to life by a thread. However, the fatigue from all her hard work had left her body's endurance and resistance at a level disproportionate to her age. Beyond the bullet wound itself, various complications aroused in her internal organs. She remained in a comatose state. The city folk had already learned about her being hit by a sniper. However, the fact that she was hovering on the brink of death had been suppressed.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you so much for your concern. It is true that Madame Rose was injured by a hoodlum's attack. However, her life is not in danger. She is already making a satisfactory recovery. However, until the authorities get to the bottom of this crime, she's going to take care of herself and temporarily refrain from dealing with external affairs.
Okay, you heard him. Let us through.
Richardson! Primavera is really going to be okay, right? I'm so glad to hear that Madame Rose is alright. It truly is such a relief.
Well, it makes sense. Madame Rose's charisma was the foundation of Primavera. Though Richard had more talent in practical matters, Primavera couldn't exist without Rose. Right now, Richard's biggest job was to somehow calm the people who had been shaken to learn that Rose had been shot.
Hello, it's me. Did you arrive safely?
Yes, no problems here. Looks like the man you told me about understands the situation. Huh. Wayne.
Of course. He's preparing all this for us. Feel free to rely on him. Was the hospital equipped to your satisfaction?
Yes, it is no worse off than any big hospital in Tokyo. The director also understands our situation and is helping out.
I imagine the atmosphere is much nicer there than Tokyo. It should be better for Rose's recuperation than any hospital here.
Right now, Wayne's group was far from Tokyo. They were in the Shizuoka prefecture. Damage from the disaster in that area had been relatively minor. For that reason, it hadn't received the trampling known as GHQ reconstruction, making it one of the few cities that with any Japan left in it. In search of that Japanness, many Japanese refugees had gathered there and were forming a massive Japanese colony. Unlike Tokyo, it wasn't a mixture of Americans, Chinese, and Japanese people. Though they didn't know who the culprit was, in these times when they couldn't trust foreigners, it was perhaps fair to call that area relatively safe. By now, Madame Rose is being moved to Shizuoka. Can we really trust the people here?
Imagawa-kun, the gang leader who greeted you, is a man I've known since my days as moneylender. He made his wealth dealing in black market goods. I was the one who backed him up with financing. And now he set up his own castle and is living shrewdly as the boss of a powerful organization.
I see. So he owes you one.
Oh, nothing as obligatory as that. At first, he hesitated to come to my aid. But the instant he learned I was Primavera's consigliere, he suddenly changed his mind. Life is very trying.
I see. So even though we're in his care, it looks like we'd better not trust him.
Well, I never intended to trust anyone. Is there anyone but you who could serve as Madame Rose's bodyguard?
Of course not. I won't trust anyone. I'll keep her perfectly safe.
Primavera still needs Rose. However, I will take responsibility and take care of City 23's work. If Rose wakes, I'd like you to tell her that and tell her to focus on her recovery and peace.
Understood. I'll protect Rose-san even if it costs me my life.
That's our standard Wayne. Always the good boy.
Still, it is somewhat troublesome that we didn't manage to finish off Madame Rose. If she recovers, Mad Primavera probably won't dance to my tune. Don't you know where they took her when she was carried out of the hospital?
The whereabouts are unknown, sir.
Wayne's group had taken Madame Rose to Shizuoka secretly, almost as though they were kidnapping her. There was no helping it. It wouldn't do for them to go through formal channels and leave a trail pointing to some hospitals in Shizuoka. Thanks to the success of his strategy, Gabriel had completely lost track of Madame Rose's whereabouts. That's good. Unless he pushed Richard into a feud before Madame Rose returned, Gabriel's plan would melt away. Though she had made bold decisions in the soy sauce war, she was prudent enough never to take action without meticulous planning and calm decision-making. It was very possible that this prudence of hers might see through the forged letters. However, if Madame Rose didn't return, the letters would do splendidly. They'd probably be enough to convince Richard and Cyrus and the like. However, even then, they probably wouldn't start up a feud so easily. Surely, someone would suggest that they might as well wait for Madame Rose to regain consciousness before making their decision. Leaders such as Wayne and Meryl, who had made such more Salmosa loyalty to Rose than Richard, and you're probably going to try to kill Meryl and Wayne, aren't you? Wait, we already know Wayne's not going to die, but I swear to God, if you touch a hair on Meryl's head, I will personally rip your guts out. Would probably say that and delay the decision to start a feud. If they brought themselves time, that alone would help Richard regain his composure. There was always the possibility that the forged evidence wouldn't work, and it was also conceivable that someone could somehow prove that the GDS had been framed.
What a pain. Truly it is. How truly troublesome that we didn't finish off Madame Rose.
Even as he said this, Gabriel's face only looked like someone impressed by a brilliant chess move made by his opponent.
I'd like to make one more push. Do we have any suitable pawns, I wonder?
Oh God. Okay, let's head to Chinatown. See how things are going on over here.
We got multiple sources of info saying that and everyone believes it. We're trying to track down whoever said it first.
Who here first said that the GDS was responsible for this crime? Who'd you hear that from?
That's, I believe it was.
You misunderstand! Why would I spread rumors to frame the GDS to which I'm most indebted? I would never do such a thing!
If it wasn't you, then who did start the rumors? They surely you said, I fucking hell, what is it with me having strokes all of a sudden? They say you saw letters detailing secret communications between the GDS and Bashing Bang, which is a total lie.
Now look at who is framing who! That must be a rumor someone set up to frame me!
Why don't you spit it out already? Who started saying we were the ones responsible for that incident?
We've already gotten the Japanese information peddlers to spill that they got it from Chinese merchants.
We've heard that rumor too, but it definitely wasn't us. How could someone in the care of the GDS ever voice such a terrifying rumor? Still, well, according to rumor... So, the GDS is actively looking for information about this. Because it really does personally affect them. And with good reason.
Alan. 3 days had passed, but there was no sign of Alan waking. Every now and then he'd get beads of sweat and start moaning in pain as though having a nightmare. Meishu couldn't do anything but wipe away that sweat.
That sweat means the bad things inside his body are going out. He's recovering on schedule. This man's will to survive is indeed strong.
It's Alan, he's a strong man. Of course. He's got such a wonderful girlfriend waiting for him. Of course he wants to live. I'll stay here the whole time. Please come back quickly. This whole time, Meishu had been spending the night here, constantly looking after Alan. All she could do was wipe sweat and hold his hand when he moaned in. However, doctors from both Eastern and Western medical science know that this is the most effective medicine. How is Alan-kun doing?
Shh! Talk quieter.
How is Alan-kun doing?
His sleeping face seems somehow more peaceful than yesterday. He's okay. I believe it.
I do hope he wakes up soon.
Brother.
He exchanged fire with the enemy. I'm sure he'll have some clue that will be vital in identifying them. Right.
Have you been able to wipe out that rumor that the GDS was responsible?
I'm afraid not. I can't imagine that any of our countrymen would betray us. Some people claim that there exist letters detailing a secret correspondence between us and Ba Bang. Some even claim to have seen these themselves.
Do they actually exist?
Of course not. Someone probably forged them to frame us.
If it's a forgery good enough to convince our countrymen, there's no way a foreign race could have made it.
Exactly. There is a traitor amongst our countrymen who seeks to frame us.
Could it be someone in the Elder faction you and the others chased out?
I can't deny the possibility. It's probable the remnants of the previous generation in either our group or Ba Bang.
So, they're harassing you to take revenge for getting kicked out?
It probably would be possible for them to create these forged letters, but they could not have gathered so many troops. They must have looked for assistance from a group that stands opposed to us.
So, does this mean there's going to be another underworld feud? And once again, people will get hurt, and girls like me will end up crying over and over again? When will you men stop playing war games? It'll never end, will it? It's because you men keep starting war after war that we can't hold our hands together.
Alan groaned in pain. Meishu, realizing she'd gotten too loud, quickly turned to look at Alan. Those who accept defeat or run from a fight are always destroyed. Peace does not refer to a world without war. It merely refers to the gaps between wars.
Get out. Neither I nor Alan need to hear what you've got to say. It would appear that she's actually quite cross with you.
I see. So still no clues.
That's not exactly what I said, but I mean, to be fair, you are correct. I haven't found anything, but we're chasing them. We're getting closer.
We must identify the one who forged those letters as quickly as possible. Please have them continue. There is no time. No matter how foolish a rumor is, if time is given to the paint to dry, it becomes no different from the truth.
Very well then. I expect a lot amount of candy after this.
I will give you a lifetime supply if you at least help us. Okay. City 7. City 7. Old Sumeda City. It was controlled by the Castiglione family and Italian-American force.
However, because it was sandwiched between the GDS's City 22 and Ba Bang's City 8, it was always being encroached upon by Chinese organizations. For that reason, it stood in opposition to the GDS and Ba Bang, and might be considered the force most friendly to Primavera. In the recent soy sauce war, they had been the first to answer to Madame Rose's request for assistance. They welcomed anything that would result in the weakening of the GDS and Ba Bang. In other words, they stood the most to gain from a feud breaking out between Primavera and the GDS. The Castiglione family had been at the top of the list of suspects in the minds of every one of the GDS's execs. However, Zilong didn't agree. It was hard to imagine that Don Castiglione, who was brutal and cutthroat, wanted to be known as a tyrant, would allow his subordinates to retreat. The foes who attacked Meishu had retreated as soon as they saw themselves in an unfavorable situation. And judging by the efficiency of their retreat, they clearly must have been given permission to retreat beforehand. So most likely the Castiglione family hadn't directly carried out the deed. However, it was just possible that the true culprit had sounded Castiglione out to see if he'd been willing to do it. Also, if the GDS relationship to Primavera did worsen, it would be troublesome if the Castiglione family intervened. At the moment, Don Castiglione was the most important person for Zilong to meet.
I heard about the incident with Richard's sister. It seems the funeral will be held Sunday.
It's truly saddening for that to happen to one so young.
True. I saw her once at the party marking Primavera's establishment. The massive valley of her breast was quite alluring. If I met her in heaven, I'll definitely take a pass.
I find that highly offensive.
That was just a joke, so don't take it seriously, Chinaman.
Perhaps it was a tad difficult for her to understand for one as young as me. Forgive me for not laughing.
Don Castiglione was a big man who was supposedly past his prime. However, he hadn't lost any of the manly charisma and order it took to enrapture young call girls. He smoked inexpensive cigars, though chewing on it, and there were several rings with large jewels on his fingers, almost as if he was a king. After making it through several trials that could be called insane gambles, he'd survived with his miraculous luck and built the Castiglione family. He'd used bullets to stop the battles over rights to Tokyo's rapid development, forming a group large enough to swallow all of the city's 7. All who took up arms against him or betrayed him were killed in his own special way, either ending up floating in the river or, sinking in it. That was the man called Don Castiglione.
I can guess why you've come here.
I'm impressed by your powers of deduction, Don Castiglione.
I had nothing to do with that attack, and I don't know anything either.
I thought as much. I can't imagine anyone coming to you for a job as delicate as igniting a feud.
You've got guts. I like the way you joke.
Would it be desirable for you if we of the GDS or Primavera started fighting?
Of course it would. Who'd complain if pizza dough and tomato started fighting it out in the oven? I mean, that kind of sounds like the terrible plot like the guy that made Ginger Dead Man.
What?
Or that's what I'd like to say. When Miss Rose are quick to make things get big. After all, you started up such a massive war. And all because that Wan Ying Wang caused a little trouble with sauce made from soybeans and of all things. To be perfectly honest, you and City 23 are like a barrel of gunpowder. Even if there's only sparks flying about, it worries us to no end.
Apparently, even the war hawk, Don Castiglione, didn't want to struggle so big it would go public. Since he had a tight relationship with the occupying forces, he couldn't do anything that would sour their mood, such as putting public safety at risk. However, ever since Primavera formed a family in C23, there have been massive gunfights almost every year. According to rumors he'd heard, even the GHQ, which had been trying to shove it under the rug, had finally sent out a special officer to deal with organized crime. If a massive disturbance broke out in C23 on top of all this, the GHQ might actually run out of patience this time. If that happened, there would probably be a heavy crackdown on underworld forces across Tokyo, not just in C23. Apparently, Don Castiglione realized that, no matter how much he hated the GDS, it wasn't worth risking such a disaster.
And it isn't just me. This incident came as a total shock to the Orlandos, too.
As far as I know, all the others are the same.
That was probably true. The GDS had investigated them all, but everyone, even the City 21 Orlando brothers and the Chiba Satomi Alliance, had been taken by surprise. And all of them prayed that this wouldn't turn into a massive war of vengeance that might stir the wrath of the GHQ.
There's no boss as stupid as me in Tokyo. I'm the dumbest of the dumb. I am indeed the dumbest of all asses. And even I don't feel like being a party to such a troublesome scheme.
So, you're saying there's no family in Tokyo that would offer troops for such a plan?
Well, if there is, please let me meet him. I'd like to see which of the two of us is stupider. Oh, by the way, wait, who are you again?
So, Don Castiglione had reached the same conclusion as Zilong. There didn't exist any group that could carry out such an extremely violent plan, yet do it with mechanical cool-headedness. They had possessed such a large number of troops, all extremely well trained and capable of moving as a group, and they had been given plenty of the most modern weapons and even an escape route. There was only one organization which could supply all of that. However, that organization wasn't a criminal underworld group. The name of just one organization floated in the back of Zilong's mind. However, that one possibility was eliminated by the violence and madness that had led to the casual involvement of American civilians. The Army of the United States of America! Hey, they aren't above killing their own people, so yeah. Alright. Not a single battle has started, but that's relatively okay, because right now, I've taken on this piece, but god damn. The sheer amount of evil. But oh my god, seriously. Oh my god. Gabriel. He has everyone wrapped around his finger. Damn. That is like next level evil. I love it. I mean, I hate it, but my god, I love it. Oh. He has everybody. Just he controls everything at this point. There's literally nothing that can touch him. Damn. Here, remind me never to get on Gabriel's bad side. Dear God. Jesus. But anyway. Oh, I am definitely looking forward to seeing how this continues on, but... Alright. Alright. Oh boy, okay. Oh dear. I'm already scared of what potential additional plans that Gabriel's going to be putting in place. I'm not really I'm not looking forward to that. But anyway, if you all like this, be sure to let me know. Thank you all very much for watching, and I will definitely see all of you guys. Oh yeah. Stories of hope.